The meeting. Thank you. What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. I am here with Anthony, Mike, and Casey, who has been missing the action because she's traipsing all over the country.
Yes,
but she had to come in because we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I can't believe we finally got it. It's here. And I loved it. What did you guys think?
Emotional damage. Okay.
This movie that was coming
from the start with Quill drinking himself into a fucking stupor and being carried. Oh, also, okay, don't get me wrong. I love this movie. This is like a top third movie for me as far as all the Marvel movies.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Very high praise.
But the red herrings that they gave us during for the commercials and trailers leading up to this, from this moment when they were carrying Quill and it looked like he was dead, like when you saw it I saw it in the commercial, I was like, they're not killing off Quill. Then when they showed them carrying Drax after they were inside the living place, the like living blob thing, I was like, oh shit, Drax is dead. Then it's like, they gave us so many red herrings. I feel like I have fish poisoning. I'm like, they just kept like misdirecting us everywhere. And they kept doing it throughout the movie too. And but I gotta say, I was so happy with this movie, especially after like so many of the last 2 or 3 movies were kind of lackluster in certain points. Like they were good, but there were points of where we were just like, This one throughout was spot on. That shit is good. And I hate to see James Gunn go, but I'm glad that he's going to DC to actually bring good filmmaking over there. Maybe this will actually be competition now, as opposed to just Marvel getting complacent with the product they're putting out. And now maybe he'll get them step their game up so that Marvel can get their game back up to where it needs to be. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Anthony, what about you?
I'm going to agree with about 65% of what Mike said.
I'll take it.
Like it was good. I wouldn't say top third, but it was good. It was like Marvel getting back on track to what it does really well with these kinds of movies, which is sort of like Mike said, kind of been missing the last 2 or 3 movies. The humor was good. The story was pretty good. Pacing was pretty good. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours. It had a lot of really good moments. I thought it was well done. I mean, James Gunn knows these characters really well. And, as long as you're not making these huge shifts, like, for example, in Love and Thunder, we see the Guardians in the beginning, right? It didn't feel like the Guardians. It didn't really feel like them. It's not quite the same. And I don't think it's because Thor was with them, but it just wasn't, it didn't feel like Guardians. So I was a little concerned, but then that wasn't James Gunn doing it.
Yeah, that was tight.
When James Gunn has his characters, he knocks it out of the park. So I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I did have one big issue with it, and we'll talk about that later. Almost killed the movie for me, but I got over it.
Okay. What about you, Casey?
I did like it too. It's not my top 3. I did the action.
I said third. That's 11 movies.
Okay.
Top 11. There are 33 movies out. It's in my top 11.
Okay.
I'll give you that. It could be within the top 11. It could
20. Yeah.
Could be. I really did enjoy it, especially being someone who watched from the beginning, and some of the throwbacks that they had and some of the callbacks to earlier movies got me. I was like, I awed a lot in the movie. I didn't cry, but I did go, it pull at your heartstrings a little bit. One thing I really didn't like, I won't say hated. I extremely disliked this Gamora. I did not like her at all. Her attitude, her everything. I was like,
but I think that was the point of this Gamora, because she is an earlier version of even the Gamora that we met in the first, like the very first version of Gamora that we met. She's an earlier version. This is the version of Gamora that's supposed to be like the galaxy's most wanted, one of the most feared assassins. This is that version of Gamora.
I don't like her.
Yeah, and I think
this is the version, right? Like they hadn't quite figured out what Thanos was doing. Like this is the version. This is before. Yeah, when we first saw her, she was trying to stop him from getting all the stones because she knew what he was doing. This one isn't there yet,
right?
So yeah,
right. Also, I mean, she's kind of sort of. It's kind of sort of like she knows, because of course she was brought in Endgame, and that's where we saw her. So she's kind of like trying to figure things out.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't fall for the trope of putting them back together in the end of the movie. Because I was like, I'm like, please don't do that, because it's like the way she was acting. I was like, nah, don't do that.
Yeah, it was her attitude for me. Like, bitch, like I just couldn't. It was like you were extra angry and extra for nothing.
Okay,
you know? Just like a little. Like, tone it down like this much.
Okay,
like, so I get it. You mad? I don't want to be with you. I get it.
I get it. I get it, and I get it, because I think the only thing for me in this movie that really, really aggravated me was the fact that Peter kept trying to make her remember him, or kept trying to convince her that she, that, oh yeah, we had this great relationship, we were in love, and this, that, and the other. And she kept saying in no uncertain terms, I am not the person that you think that you want me to be. I'm not the person you think I am. And for him to keep harping on it the entire fucking movie, I would be pretty pissed too. It's kind of like nowadays when we tell a guy we're not interested and they keep persisting, it pisses us off, because it's like, dude, we are clearly giving you signals. And she wasn't even being subtle about it. She was basically, I'm not the person you want me to be. I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. There is no chance in hell that we are going to be together. And he just kept pushing the issue because he couldn't get over his own trauma. That shit was getting on my nerves. I mean, in a sense, I understand his point of view. Like, this is a person who looks like the love of your life, which we'll get to that part too, because yeah. But, and I understand how hard that can be, but still, if the chick is telling you that she is clearly not interested, dude, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. I feel like okay, because he had pretty good chemistry with Peter. I feel like that this is something set up for later, when he and Peter are going to have a conversation about the love of their lives, not remembering who they are.
Who?
Oh,
Peter Parker.
Oh, Peter.
Oh, y'all like Peter who? Peter
Yeah,
Parker.
I don't know who you're talking about.
So it'll be the two Peters both have girlfriends that don't remember or don't have any memory of their relationship.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the younger Peter, that's how you want to model. Like, when you go in and you see the person that is the love of your life and she clearly doesn't remember you, instead of going into the whole, oh, hey, yeah, let me tell you about this funny story. You and I used to, he just lets her live her life. Hello,
That's
please.
why I say it's going to make for interesting conversation when that happens.
Yeah. But other than that, I will say I actually loved the movie. I loved the villains. They were great. Rocket's backstory, just like you said, Michael, emotional damage, because I was just like, oh, like, we knew his backstory was going to be horrible, but I mean, when they're showing what was done to him to the Guardians, and they all can't even look at it, because and Nebula is like, this is worse than anything my father ever did to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, y'all really trying to kill us.
That line got me. I was just like, when she said that, I was just like,
and we know how he fucked her up.
Right.
Because she mentions it every single time, literally. So for her to make that statement, it shows what an impact, what Rocket went through had, and to see, the relationships that he built with Lila and with Teefs and with Floor, and for what happened to happen. I was just sitting in the movie theater like, oh my God, what is he trying to do to us? And then for all that to happen and none of our people died, I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, you know what? We don't have to have and I said this before, we don't have to have the trope where where your favorites die or some of the main people die. People don't always have to die for it to be a good or emotional movie. And I'm glad that the Guardians were able to survive. They were all able to not necessarily go into their happy endings, but they got closure on some things and they were able to move forward into the next phase of life. I love that part of the story. So
I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if Marvel told him, not under any circumstances are you allowed to kill anybody, because he was leaving. So I'm sure they told him that he couldn't do that.
But I would think that, especially since he was the one that brought the Guardians to life, he has been the mind, heart, and soul behind this trilogy. I would, if he was leaving, that they would give him permission to do that, because I don't think you want anybody else touching the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, granted, I know that the title card at the end says that Star-Lord will be back. In what capacity, we don't know. But the rest of them, he has said clearly, this is it for the Guardians. They're done.
No, it's it for that version. Because Zoe Saldana's not coming back. Dave Bautista's not coming back.
Right.
We know those two for sure are not returning.
Well, she's been promoting
what he
them.
said was that particular group of Guardians won't be together again.
Okay.
So
well, Zoe
like won't be back together, but certain people have said they're not returning to the franchise.
Yeah, well, Zoe has sort of on the side said she would like to see a recast, not be gone. So that Gamora. Anyway, but the thing is, it doesn't really matter what James Gunn wants. The characters don't belong to him; they belong to Marvel.
I know.
So Marvel can tell him this happens in comic books. This happens in the comic book world. The editor will come on and they will tell the editor, this is what you can and can't do with these characters. This is who you can and can't kill off. I'm pretty sure Disney told him, I know you want to go out with a bang, but you cannot kill anybody off because we want to be able to use them again later. And we don't want you fucking us up because you're going to our rival studio. So no, sir, you will not be killing anybody off.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I get it.
That's the business side of it. It's just the business. It's just the business.
At the end of the day, it's all about the dollar.
All about the dollars.
It's just business.
Yeah.
Just business. Not personal, just business.
It's just business. It's just business. Anyway, let's talk about some of the characters, because
I have one question. And they mentioned it a little bit in the movie. Like, and I never understood this because Gamora came back. Why wouldn't they just be able to go to get an alternate Black Widow? But they kind of mentioned it when they were like, I think in the elevator or whatever. But I don't understand, like, to me, if they can find an alternate version Gamora, why wouldn't they be able to do the same for Black Widow?
They probably could. I don't think, but it's been a while since I've seen like a few of the older movies. I don't think they brought this version of Gamora in on purpose. Am I remembering correctly? She just kind of happened to be a byproduct of them going after
fucking with time.
Fucking with time. And so I don't think that was something on purpose. And I don't think, as much as the desire probably is to do that, I don't think they would do that to Black Widow or even Tony, because who knows how bad that would screw things up,
Yeah, that's what we learned in Doctor Strange. He started messing with the multiverse. Bad things happen. The only problem,
that's
though,
what we learned in Endgame. He's like, you can't just take one and foof it off because you get a branch. And it's like,
and it also happened Watu did it in What If, where he took the Black Widow from the universe where she was the only person, and her in a universe that Black Widow had died.
But see, I think that's a little bit on the different side, because you're literally taking a whole different version. Like, this version of Gamora supposedly is the same Gamora, just from an earlier time. So I think that's a little bit different. But speaking of the multiverse, I will say this. As much as I am invested in that storyline, and as much as it has become a huge part of the Marvel story, I am kind of glad that the Guardians had nothing to do with the multiverse. Yeah. I'm glad that we kind of got a break from all of that to just focus on this story about these people. I think if they had tried to tie it into the multiverse, I think it would have gotten a little messy. And like I said, I don't know how they're going to use Peter Quill later, and it may very well have to do with Spider-Man or have to do with one of those others.
Well, it's going to be in Secret Wars. It's going to be
Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty. One of the two.
Yeah, it's going to be Secret Wars.
Okay.
But to help Casey a little bit, there is a theory that the reason why it worked. Now, I read this theory.
It's not his theory, Mike. It's somebody else's theory. Don't get excited.
Those parts of the internet and message boards where we just kind of lurk around a little bit. So it's all related to Captain America taking the stones back and putting them where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
So this Gamora is an early version of the Gamora that was sacrificed. However, him putting the Soul Stone back kind of, I don't want to say negated her death, but it didn't screw up the timeline because she's now able to be alive. Do you understand?
So he took the stone from a period from before she got thrown off.
Well, he took the stone, yeah. Because remember, they got the stone, yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of, the universe sort of corrected itself, said, well, it didn't have to bring her back because she ultimately was sacrificed. But this version was sort of not a part. Just putting the stone back kind of made it easier for her to exist.
Because I was going to say, if you think about it, they all went, when they went to go, retrieve the stones, or I'm thinking,
because if what had happened would have been undone, then that meant that Black Widow could have come back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this makes it, if they do somehow bring her back, then that's explainable as well, because the stone is back where it's supposed to be. So the sacrifice wasn't necessary. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's convoluted.
Which is why we had a Black Widow movie after she died.
Yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things that you just kind of have to be like, yeah, whatever.
It's one of those things that makes your head hurt about time travel, which is why you don't like time travel.
I don't like time travel, right?
Because the waters can get a little murky.
Murky, downright muddy and nasty and filthy
and sluggish and everything.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have a better understanding, so thank you. Carry on.
All right. So, for those of you who are familiar with the character, what did you think about the introduction of Adam Warlock?
Okay, so all right, this is my problem, right?
I'm gonna have something to say.
This is not Adam Warlock. I don't care about Adam Warlock. This has no resemblance. I know they've changed a lot of things about the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War and all that stuff, but I was excited about Adam Warlock until I saw Adam Warlock.
Okay.
Because I understand they needed more, or maybe he felt he needed more comic relief, but I thought it was sort of like an unnecessary comic relief. Like, I don't like this version of Adam Warlock. I think they could have done it differently, but I think they didn't want him to be that similar to Drax. Because I think they wanted to make him sort of like childlike because he's not that old. Um,
Yeah.
But even the Adam Warlock in the comic book was way more mature, even though he wasn't, aged or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Like this version of Adam Warlock was just I did not recognize it and I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I just had to accept it and move on because otherwise it was going to annoy me the whole freaking movie.
Okay.
What other version is there? Because this is the only one I know.
Well, this is why when they gave us that post-credit scene in Guardians 2, everybody was like, oh shit, because Adam Warlock has, like you said, he's wielded the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones. So it's like, this is before Infinity War 2. So it's like everybody was wondering what the fuck's going on. Like, which way are they going to go with it? Because they literally could have gone one of three ways with it. The way they went with Thanos having it, they could have had Adam Warlock wield it, or there's also a comic where Nebula actually wields the Infinity Gauntlet. So there were a lot of ways they could have gone, and they had Adam Warlock there almost ready to come out of his cocoon, and they're like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? So it's like, the way they decided to go, they decided they just didn't catch him or introduce him until now. But it's like, I'm kind of with Anthony. I was at first, because I was like, why is he acting like why is he's acting like he's 7? And it's like, it was getting on my nerves. But then it's like, the more I watched it, and it's like, I watched stuff online about Adam Warlock. I watched scenes. I watched certain scenes with him in it. I was like, okay, I actually understand. I don't necessarily like him more. He's not one of my favorite characters in this film. Like, I kind of thought he could have been. To be honest, they probably could have left him out. I think the only reason they had him is they needed someone to get Quill out from outer space at the end. That's the only reason they really had him in it.
See,
and they had to have somebody
Adam,
beat up Rocket in the beginning. That's the only reason I think that they had him in it. It's like, because in between there, it's like, he saw his sister die. He really didn't do anything to save her, and it's like, all he did was beat up Rocket and
his
save
mother. His
mother. Sorry, yeah, his mother. So he couldn't save his mother. He beat up Rocket and he saved Peter. That's basically all he did. And he likes King Crimson. Okay, we could have left all that out.
Even in the comic books, like Vision. Okay, when they have Vision have the Soul Stone, because in the comic book, Adam Warlock is the one with the Soul Stone.
Oh, okay.
So at the time, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're gonna make Vision more like Adam Warlock. So sort of imagine him similar to what Vision was, but a little bit different.
Okay.
In the comic book, he was created by a group called the Enclave on Earth as the next evolution of humanity. After he left them, he was found by the High Evolutionary, who kind of tweaked him a little bit more. So the High Evolutionary in the comic book didn't create him; he just kind of improved on what the Enclave did. But he's a cosmic being of imminent power, and I didn't really like seeing him reduced to childlike comic relief with power. It was just really weird seeing him like that.
Okay. He's one of the most powerful entities
in Marvel.
Yeah, and that's what I heard. And then when I saw him in the movie, even for me who has no background on him, I knew nothing about his character. It seemed a weird introduction, but then I think I saw a couple of interviews that talked about how he's starting out as this being that's created by, I think her name was the Sovereign Aisha. He was created for a specific purpose, And then in the midst of, basically trying to steal Rocket and trying to destroy the Guardians, he comes to this realization that, okay, maybe this is not the person I'm supposed to be. And it's kind of like growing from infancy into maturity. Like, you start out as this person who is just kind of single-minded because this is what you were bred to do and this is what you were supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden you start seeing how other people are reacting, how other people are living their lives, or the heroic things that other people are doing, and you have to sit here and make a decision of what type of person you want to be. And then that's when you start seeing his character mature a little bit towards the end. So I got that, but I kind of feel like you, Anthony, like the first part of the film when he was introduced, I felt like it was more of a distraction than anything. And I just felt like maybe there could have been a different way to introduce him than the way that they did. It just, I don't want to say it took away anything, because I don't feel like it took away from the story, but I don't feel like his addition really added to the story, at least, especially not in the first part. Like, I get it, you're the person that came after Rocket and you kind of introduced that part of the story with the High Evolutionary and us excuse me, Rocket, being unconscious and then them finding the device in him that so I understand that part of it, but I was just kind of looking like, this is the person everybody's been making because from the moment he was announced, like, everybody has been talking about and so excited about Adam Warlock joining the MCU. And I was sitting there watching it like, I don't get it,
Yeah.
And I really wanted to get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how they did with Taskmaster. No, sorry.
We are not getting started on that again, Michael. You have to let it go.
I can't.
Have to let
but
it
it's
go.
like, but this is like, I try to accept things as they are, but I'm like, okay, they've said that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is different than the comic books, so they're proving it by changing characters or having them act way different than most of us nerds are used to, and it's like, then of course that's just going to stir up controversy where people are like, that's not right, and and running around and yelling. But it's like, unless they're going to develop his character more, I don't understand why they started that way. I mean, maybe they're going to develop his character in Secret Wars or something else like that. But it's like, he just really looked dumb.
Right. Because question, did I hear, okay, I've only seen the movie once. I had planned on going to see it another time before we talked about it, but I didn't get a chance to. Did I hear them mention somewhere in the movie something about the Kree? I thought I did.
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah. When we get to Philo, we can talk about the Kree.
Yeah. Because I think,
Philo's half Kree.
Yeah.
The little girl in the post-credit scene.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So earlier we talked about how James Gunn knows these characters. We kind of need to take him to task on repeating a pattern that he used for the first one, because Gamora is very similar to how she was when she was introduced and how she rebuffed Peter a lot in the beginning. It's very similar. His treatment of Adam Warlock, our reaction to Adam Warlock is very similar to, I'm talking about comic book people, our reaction to Drax. Because same thing with Drax was the same way. He was not like this in our comic books. Drax the Destroyer was a serious fellow who sole purpose was to kill, I can't remember if it was to kill Thanos or Ronan. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I mean, he was hell-bent. Like, that's all he wanted to do. Period.
Yeah, and he was kind of like that in the first.
Like that, but there was a lot of comedy. And
but then they gave him Mantis, and he kind of like tailed off from his point. And
so that's sort of another similar kind of thing that went with, that James Gunn went with that pattern. So I don't know if it's something that he knows works for the kind of movies he does, but I didn't think he should have done the same treatment for Adam Warlock.
Okay.
I'm like you might as well have not had him in the movie, because like both of you have said, it didn't really add anything to it. Even not knowing how he is in the comic books in Infinity War and the Infinity Saga is fine, but what was the point?
Right.
Like, he
except
didn't.
for some really cool fight scenes, because he came in there whooping ass.
Yeah. And then he got his ass handed to him both times.
That's true. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, they have to start them off mean so they can get beat.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they still could have left. They could have left all that. If that's all they're going to do, is like, I mean, I actually like, the only part I really liked him is like, I didn't necessarily really like him when he saved Quill. It's like, I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. But the only time I really liked him was when in the post credit scene where they were talking about the music they liked. He was like, he actually seemed like he actually acted better than he did in the whole movie. I was just like he
well, again, like I said, the way that they presented him in the movie is like, when we're first introduced to him, he's kind of got this single focus, and that's all that, as far as he knows, he's supposed to do. So it's like, when you have characters like that and then they get around other examples of humanity, and like, oh, this is how people act, or oh, this is how people should be, and maybe I should try to be this way, because it was very clear in the movie that he realized he wasn't like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, even when the High Evolutionary and Sovereign Aisha were talking about his development, it's almost like they were telling us, okay, this is a very dumbed down version of what he's supposed to be, because they broke him out of his cocoon early, or whatever. He hasn't had chance to develop. I mean, it's kind of like he's a premature baby. Like, he didn't have a chance to fully develop. And, there's some things that need further nurturing. And then when you see him at the end, when he's having the conversation with the new Guardians, he seems more like a regular person. And I'm assuming this is because he's now been around the Guardians. He's been around other people. He's been around the children that the High Evolutionary was experimenting on. So he's had more of a time to develop like his own personality. And, like you said, I was cool with that part. So I was like, okay, so if this is the person he is starting to be, yes, I want to see where his journey is going to lead now, because I need to feel the excitement that everybody else was feeling about this character. And right now, I just really don't quite have that. It was just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, so he's just basically, he's a tool. He's a scapegoat for the High Evolutionary. Oh, I need you to go get these people. I need you to go get my my raccoon, because I can't do it. And
I'm going to go out on a limb, and this is not a theory. I'm going to say this up front. It's not a theory. I think it's possible that before, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that James Gunn had 4 movies in mind for Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe more, before he went. And the 3rd movie was actually going to be Adam Warlock and the Sovereign. And introduce the High Evolutionary later. And so that whole movie was going to be Adam Warlock being taken out of the cocoon early. And, maybe they were contacted for him to create, I don't want to say redo the Thanos thing with High Evolutionary, but do it in the Guardians universe.
Okay.
Like, he would be the big bad that we don't know about until the 4th movie.
Okay.
But they don't know why this dude is trying to kidnap Rocket. And, and go through all that. And I could envision a whole movie where we get to know Adam Warlock and his powers, and we sort of see him, change over time as he matures from, being broken out early, and starting to question, well, what is my purpose? Like, am I really just supposed to be a weapon? Like, am I
really just playing fetch, going to fetch?
This is a fetch quest, for me, or whatever.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I really could see that could have been a thing, but then when James Gunn is like, well, I guess I'm leaving, so this is my last movie, so I put it all in one movie. So there's no time to develop Adam Warlock or do all the things that maybe he had envisioned for this character. I don't want to belabor the point, but it just seems like you could have all of our expectations, and he knows all of our expectations for Adam Warlock, and he had to give us Adam Warlock, but he couldn't do it in the way that maybe he had planned on doing it.
Because he would have had more movies.
Yeah, because he thought he was going to have more time and more movies. He didn't. So just make it all one movie and wrap it up.
Okay.
I really could see that is probably what happened, because the post-credit scene and the hype surrounding Adam Warlock, and this is what we get, it doesn't really seem right. It seems like there's a lot missing with that, especially how he was used. And like, why would the High Evolutionary tell them to get Rocket and then turn around and then send someone else? You see what I'm saying? Like, the High Evolutionary doesn't seem like a person that would do two different things for the same end. Like, he already tried Sovereign, it failed, so you move to the next thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because he seemed like the type of person that does not like failure. And when they failed to get Rocket the first time, he basically was, like, yeah, so
but then he tells them, but then he tells them, you better get me the Rocket or I'm going to wipe out your whole civilization, right? Get me 8, 9, whatever. And then he turns around, he sets a trap for him.
Yeah.
So
it's a face-off.
Did you finally see my screen name?
Yeah, I did. It's not a trap.
It's not a trap. It's a face-off.
It's a face-off. Yeah.
But yeah. So it seemed like there was just a lot of weird stuff going on there, because if he really truly thought the Sovereign was going to complete the task, he wouldn't have had to set the trap. But then if he set the trap, he should have known that the Sovereign would still. It seems like his motivation to get Rocket, maybe it would make him have a whole bunch of different things going on to get him, but it just doesn't seem like this version of the High Evolutionary would do that. Like, he's like, I'm going to do this. If this doesn't work and you fail me, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So the plan for the trap was the next thing, because the Sovereign failed. But then why would you tell the Sovereign to continue to try to get Rocket? That would put them in conflict, which is what happened. Put them in conflict with what he was trying to do. It didn't make any sense to me. That the whole Adam Warlock stuff didn't really fit. And that's the one thing about the movie that just annoyed me. It just annoyed me to death.
Okay, so for you it was Adam Warlock. For me it was Quill, doggedly pursuing Gamora. And the weird thing is, so my plan had been to rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy before the second one, before I watched the third one, and I didn't get a chance to do it. So I started watching it, just kind of, I wasn't feeling good the other day. I just kind of turned it on because I was like, there were some things about the third movie that I couldn't really remember the reference points from the second movie, because I've only seen the second movie like twice. So I started watching the second movie and I was like, okay, so I remember the gold people. I remember Rocket, stealing the batteries. And this is, this was the start of the conflict and all this other stuff. But then I was like, throughout the majority of that movie, Gamora still was not, her and Quill were not together. She was still very much irritated by him. So I was like, how in the world did we go from that to she's the love of his life? And I just didn't get it. It didn't make sense to me. So, and I think that just made it even more irritating for me in this movie, because I was like, she didn't really like you the first time. And I don't know.
He had to grow on her. No, what Steve Urkel said, wearing you down. Then he had to wear down.
And I guess
Man.
in this day and age, with my own, I don't want you to wear me down. If I say I'm not interested, leave me the hell alone. Just leave me the hell alone. Let me look. I guess for me, it's like, if we're going to be together, if you want me to see that you are this great person, just be this great person without like consistently. Oh my God, yes. That got on my nerves so much with the second movie and then with this third movie, because I remember even in was it Infinity War, when all of this started going on, I was like, oh, they must have really got together and fell in love off screen, because I didn't remember none of that happening. And then to have to go through the whole thing again. And like you said, Mike, I'm glad they didn't put them back together at the end, because that would have, I think, it would have made me lose my respect for the character of Gamora altogether. Because it's like, yeah, I understand. Yes, things can happen. You can not be into someone, and like you said, Casey, they wear you down. Or maybe if you get to a point where you build a friendship and you say, oh, this person's not, not bad. Maybe I could see. If it happened in that natural progression, I would have had no problem with it. But the fact that he just kept on keeping on, it was so tiring. It was so draining. Like literally every time those two got on screen together, I literally rolled my eyes and turned my head from the screen, because I was like, just let me know when the next scene comes up, because I really didn't want to hear it. It was just so overbearing. And I was like, oh, and people don't understand, this is what we deal with men all the time. But anyway, it was just, that was the thing that if I could say anything killed the movie for me, it would have been that. Because oh my God, like, dude, she does not want you, leave her alone. Just leave her alone. But anyway, so speaking of the High Evolutionary, let's talk about him, because
that's one well done villain. Like
my God, it's like, yes. And here's the thing. So we've talked a lot about more ambiguity with a lot of the villains, because it's like we have these villains who are doing these things, but you can kind of sort of see where they're coming from. Like you can understand the origin of what they're doing. Like with Thanos was like, okay, the overpopulation is killing the galaxy. We have to do something to control it, or else everything is going to be destroyed. Okay, I get that. Don't like the way you executed it, but I get what you're saying. What was it that he said? And I think they referred to it in What If. He's like an environmentalist or something like that. Like he was really trying to save the universe. This High Evolutionary dude, I could find nothing good about him. Like
he's basically a grown version of Sid from Toy Story.
Yes, which is
I mean, it's right there. Little spiders, those spider mouths,
yes.
and the walrus with the wheels. I mean, they're basically misfit toys.
Yes, and it was just like, this is what you get from this character from the first moment. Like you realize, like from the time we start seeing Rocket's memories, and you see himself as a baby raccoon, and you see the High Evolutionary coming for him, and then the next thing you see is him being experimented on. It's like from jump, they're letting you know this is a no good motherfucker. Like there is nothing redeemable about him. There is nothing good about him. He is, for whatever his purposes is, to create a quote unquote perfect society. We all know what happens when people start aiming for a perfect society. You always get mass genocide and whatever. But his introduction and the way that he played it, the actor who plays him, I cannot pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try.
That is Chukwudi Iwuji.
I'm not going to, until I know the correct way to pronounce it, I'm not going to try. But when I tell you that motherfucker was on his shit in this role.
He was in Peacemaker too. He played the head guy in Peacemaker too. the team leader in Peacemaker. He was really good in that. But yeah, he played the fuck out of his role.
So good. So good. But watching him and watching this evolution of Rocket's backstory, being being experimented on, and then the High Evolutionary kind of sort of, I won't even say being nice to him, but it's like that scene where he's sitting with Rocket in his lap and he's feeding him and he's also teaching him some things. I was like, oh, I think that was one of the scenes that probably bothered me more than anything, because in a sense, when I looked at that scene and looked at the character and realized what he was doing, it's almost like predatory and grooming behavior.
It really is. No, it's 100% grooming. He 100% groomed Rocket, because it's like he's sitting there. It's like the way that he's holding him. I was just like, okay, it's a raccoon. It's an animated raccoon, but
like you're treating this thing like your child. You're treating it like you care for it, and you're manipulating it in that way.
When he found out they wasn't going to the new place, he was like.
Even before that, because even in that scene towards the end, I forgot there was something Rocket said to him. And when he started grabbing Rocket's brain and he was talking about, I guess how advanced he was, or it was something that he told him, even in that same scene, it's like you go from being this loving, kind of sort of parental figure to this being, to completely doing a 180 and looking like a fucking mad scientist, all in the same scene. I was like, yeah, that dude ain't wrapped too tight. And then when you get the scene with him showing Rocket what they were doing with the animals, and when I think it was the turtle that he tried to transform first, and the turtle blew up. Mm-hmm. And Rocket is sitting there, and I don't know what he did to make Rocket so smart, but even he was shocked, because Rocket was like, yeah, you got to do this, da, 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 da. And they're all sitting there looking like.
No, he had the machine. The machine was supposed to do 1,000,000 years of evolution in seconds.
Okay.
And Turtle didn't blow up. He was like, the machine is not working because they're overly aggressive.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
They're overly aggressive.
Yeah.
And then he had to incinerate him. That was when Rocket was like, oh, well, what's happening is, X, Y, and Z in the filtration system. And he looked at them like, okay.
Like, how the fuck did you figure? And he even says it later on in the movie. He's like, how did you figure it out? How did you know? I created you. It's like, I created you. How did you get smarter than me? I'm like, dude, you've never watched anything about artificial intelligence that was produced on Earth, did you? Never. Your creations are always going to be smarter than you when you try to fuck around.
Yeah. The funny thing is when he finally, I guess off screen, when he finally did what Rocket suggested and it worked, he fucking lost his mind. Like, he was acting crazy. He ran all the way back. He's like, oh my God, how did you do it? Wow. He was like, really? And I thought, what's wrong with him? And then I realized, oh, he's like trying to wrap his brain around how this thing figured it out. The thing that he created.
Mm-hmm. Like, and he couldn't figure it out.
But he couldn't figure it out, right.
Right. Like, you're supposed to be, you're the one that's creating these quote unquote perfect beings. And you literally created one. Yes, he looks like an animal, and you didn't do a lot of, he didn't have a lot of altercations to his body, but he didn't look like what he wanted them. Like, he was trying to make them look as close to human as possible, which when you go to that planet, what was it?
Counter Earth. Counter Earth. Yeah.
When you look at those beings that were there, it's like he tried to make them as close to human as possible, and really couldn't. Like, they still had some animalistic features to them, but they were highly intelligent. But and then the fact that once you figured out something else, like, oh, okay, so we figured out a way to make them even better. Oh, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're just going to incinerate the whole planet and start. I was like,
right, because he said octopus is selling meth.
Yes. Let me tell you.
It's funny because they were like, you're trying to create the perfect,
oh my God.
the perfect society, and they're cooking meth and beating each other. He's like, oh yeah, well, it's
what are you gonna do?
happening and start over.
Burn the earth, burn counter earth, and start over.
But I mean, that should have told you right then and there that no matter what kind of manipulation you are doing with cells, with genes, with DNA, with whatever, there's always something that's going to come out to make that not a perfect being, or not perfect in his definition of the word perfect. There's no balance in his creations. And that's one of the reasons.
You're only one thing. You're perfect.
Yeah, because what did he say with Sovereign? He was trying to make the most aesthetically pleasing form. And that's all you get is an aesthetically pleasing form. They don't have nothing else.
Right. And then you get the ones that are really, really smart, but they don't fit your standard of beauty. Like Rocket. I mean, for a raccoon, Rocket's a cute raccoon. He's not a cute human because he's not supposed to be. He wasn't supposed to ever be experimented on and have the things done to him that were done. But I'm telling you, this dude, he was just, and then to see all of the things that he had when they got up on that ship and you saw all of those kids, I was just looking like
oh, but before we move on, I just want to do a side note. And we're not going to get into the weeds on this. So in the comic books, High Evolutionary is human. He's from Manchester, England, and his influence, the person that kind of put him on this track, was Nathaniel Essex, who is Mr. Sinister, one of the X-Men's.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex, his thing was trying to create the perfect mutant. And that's his one focus, one little thing. And the High Evolutionary took that and was like, oh, we can do that? Like, we can manipulate DNA and we can manipulate people and stuff. And so that is what set him on the track that he ended up on. But I just thought that was a curious thing.
And scientists to stop fucking with the natural order of things, because I feel like even now in real life, in our real world, they have procedures and they have methods of where people, like, they can go into an embryo or into a cell and like correct things so that if you want your child to have this, if you want your child to have that, they can go in and alter that stuff to give you your own version of a perfect child. Stop fucking with the natural order of things. Just stop. I don't understand okay, I do understand that's a whole other conversation that we are not about to get into here. But the focus and the obsession with creating the quote unquote perfect, like, just stop. I mean, this character was a perfect cautionary tale. Stop doing that shit. Because eventually the thing that you're trying to make perfect is going to be smarter than you. And once they figure out the unethical things that you have done to make them that way, I mean, it's going to be like Skynet. It's going to be like all of these things that we've always seen where you try to create the perfect society, you try to create this, or you try to create the perfect man, or you try to create artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence in this day and age right now, May 10th, 2023. AI is all over the internet now. Like, people are creating videos, people are creating photos. And all of this stuff. And it's just kind of like you have AI now that can take a snippet of your voice and create a whole conversation.
And a song.
Or make a song.
I saw something about that too.
Or they can take you answering the phone and make a whole thing and use your voice to, acknowledge or to give permission for certain things. It's like, what are we about to? I'm really kind of feeling like, we joke a lot about Skynet, but something like that is going to happen soon because people don't know how to leave well enough alone. They keep.
What did Dr. Malcolm say in Jurassic Park? Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not
you
could
could
do it that you didn't stop to think whether or not you should.
You know who said that first, I think? Sherilyn Kenyon in one of her books said that. just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh, that is funny. Okay.
Bruh.
But yeah, that High Evolutionary. And then when you see what he has done, when you see what he's done to the other animals that Rocket eventually becomes his found family. And then once Rocket realizes, oh, he's not sending us to this new planet, he's going to kill us. And he has to convince his friends of this horrible thing. Like, you guys had all this hope about getting out of these cages, going to live a life somewhere because, those animals were highly intelligent. And you find out he's going to kill you. And then I guess he has figured out, he knew that Rocket was going to create a key to get out the cage and to let everybody else out.
I don't think they were that highly intelligent. I think Rocket was. I don't think the others were.
They were intelligent enough.
They were intelligent enough.
The fact that they are talking and they have feelings and they're carrying on full conversations and all of this, that's what I mean by them being intelligent. Because you have other animals in other cages that weren't saying a word. So, the fact that you have these animals and then you knew that Rocket was smart enough. And I almost feel like he did that on purpose. Like when Rocket said something to him about going to the other planet and he said, wait, you were smart enough to figure all this out, but you weren't smart enough to figure out that you weren't going. I feel like he did that on purpose because I was like, bitch, what?
Yeah.
But then when he goes in there and he tries to take down Rocket and he ends up killing the other three, Rocket's friends, they get into a firefight or, there's soldiers coming to try to get Rocket. And of course, Rocket at this point, Rocket done picked up a gun. Rocket done slashed old boy's face to bits. Like when I saw him, when they finally took the mask off of him at the end, I was like, that looks familiar. What does that look like? One, he kind of sort of looked like Red Skull.
Yes.
And then there's something else. I can't remember. There was something else where he just half his face was gone.
He looked like Aaron Eckhart in Batman in the Dark Knight.
Two-Face.
Like that.
He did. But my thing is too, so this is the results of what you did to this raccoon. This is what he did when you pissed him off the first time. Now it's years later. He is part of the legendary Guardians of the Galaxy that has saved the world not once but twice. And you still want to come after him?
At some point, he had to know that, though. Because even when he was talking to, I can't remember her name, the golden lady in the
Aisha,
and he was like, you've known where he was.
Right.
So at no point did anybody relay the message, oh, he's a Guardian of the Galaxy. He killed another, helped kill another villain, whatever. Like, that didn't go out.
Right. Or if it did, you didn't take note to say, oh, maybe this is somebody I don't want to fuck with. Because if he did that to you in his infancy, what is he going to do to you now? This motherfucker loves guns. He likes to shoot. He likes to kill things. You really want to come try and what? See, again,
he should have
the High Evolutionary showed that he wasn't quite intelligent in that decision making.
I thought you would have figured that out.
Right. His ego, he's really, really egotistical. Like he can't believe one of his creations would ever be better than him. He would never
His
think that he would
creation
ever amount
proved
to
it.
anything.
He proved it from the beginning when he told you what the fuck was wrong with your filtration system.
To him, think about it. He talked about how there's civilizations that look at him like a god, that treat him like a god.
Yeah.
Little
Classic
Rocky Raccoon
narcissist
and Guardians of the
behavior.
Galaxy, they mean absolutely nothing to him. That means nothing to him.
Well, you know what? He fucked around and found out, didn't he?
He did. Twice.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
But
But
I'm like Casey though, like, dude, when you told him what was gonna happen, so I'm assuming he realized, oh shit, this now I done told him that I'm gonna kill him. He might try something. So he probably like, oh yeah, I figured you would try something once you found out that you were gonna die. So he probably had been planning the whole time.
right.
Thinking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it still didn't, I mean, it still didn't work out in his favor because he got his face tore up looking like hamburger meat.
The man is unhinged. The High Evolutionary, this version of High Evolutionary is insane.
But that kind of made me wonder
shit over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Insane.
But the other crazy thing about it was the people who were following him, it took until the very end for them to see how unhinged he was, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna all shoot you." And he was like, "Yeah, whatever." I was like, y'all don't know how to read the room, because if he was that unhinged and he was willing to do all of that just to get at Rocket, did y'all really think he was gonna give a fuck about you? Y'all are just
so focused on the one thing, you missing everything else.
That sounds like somebody else we know from another show we discussed. Casey, don't that sound like Pope? Anyway, whole other thing.
Laser focus. You can't see nothing else on the front, you're on the side of you, so focused.
But yeah, that dude had some like major issues. And it started me wondering, I was like, I wonder, did he experiment on himself too? Like trying to make himself a better version. And maybe that's what started his mental breakdown once he realized that Rocket was smarter than him.
No, I think he was already crazy before.
Yeah.
He didn't need any outside assistance. He already had all he needed.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
He had all that already.
Okay.
No additional help. We crazy.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the other things that I did love about the movie, for 3 films, well, I think the Guardians have been in a total of 5 films now. And one of the things that we always saw with them was this, they have this core group, but they're always bickering amongst each other. And I realized that in the second movie when I was rewatching it, because I was like, oh, it's so funny. In this second movie, I remember Rocket and Quill had this really, really huge fight to the point where they were like, they couldn't stand each other. And then in this movie, Quill is like, that's my best friend. I'm not going to let him die. And again, I feel like a lot of this development is taking place off screen because it's just kind of like, yes, I know y'all. I know, I know I was going to say this, but it's like, well, anyway, however these bonds and relationships are done, I actually like seeing them in this film. Like you really got to see with Rocket and his being incapacitated and being close to death, like you saw the Guardians really kind of rally around each other. And even though, yes, there was still a little bit of, Drax is going to be Drax. He's going to give Mantis a hard time and all this other stuff. But you really got to see how important that group is to each other. Like Quill wanting to do anything to save him, Nebula being emotional about Rocket. And then when Rocket was, when he was resuscitated and he saw Quill, the first thing he said was, "Where's Nebula?" I was like, okay, they're showing us that these characters who were previously unemotional, unattached. You know, Nebula couldn't stand the Guardians. She was like, all of y'all are stupid. Y'all are dumb. Y'all do some dumb shit. Y'all make stupid decisions. For her to have that kind of impact to where she's the first person that Rocket is looking for when he wakes up, where she's upset about his being down and wanting to do whatever needs to be done to get him back. I was like, okay, I like seeing the bonds of friendship. And that's one thing Marvel, I feel like, has always done well, because you take these characters who have nothing in common, who generally don't like each other, and you do create these really strong bonds of friendship and family with them. And I do like seeing that. So I like seeing it in this film, especially because with the last film, with Ego and everything that was happening, it's kind of like y'all in all different kind of directions. There's no cohesion in this group. There's no unity. Like, I don't understand how y'all get shit done, because y'all are forever fighting. It's just one of those things. So to kind of see that come full circle, I enjoyed seeing that.
It
also made it a little bit harder to see them go their separate ways at the end.
Yeah, but you got to realize that Nebula and Rocket were each the last of that crew to. They're the two members of the Guardians that made it through the snap. So they had like a whole 5 years to actually get to know each other and depend on each other.
You're right.
And they helped them get through. So they actually have a stronger bond, have a really strong bond now, as opposed to everyone else. Because, like, I was looking, and they showed the scene when Captain Marvel found them and brought their ship to Earth, and Nebula was just sitting there. Rocket went over and just sat next to her and held her hand, and it's just like, that's the kind of bond that they have, because they're the only person they had to lean on that they knew in this world anymore. Period. Like, in this literally in the universe, the only person that they knew that they could depend on was each other. So it's like, of course, that's going to grant them a big bond.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What else should we talk about? Because, like I said, I'm
Michael Rooker.
Okay, so I cried when he showed up.
I
did. Oh yes, because we gotta talk about crying. Yes.
Use your heart, son.
I was like, no.
I was like, hi, Yondu. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun seeing him again, because I did not expect it. So when it showed up on my screen, I was like, Yondu's back. Even though it was just a vision, but still, he was back long enough to make an impact.
I really like this. I think it's the first time I actually liked Raglan. Like, even I don't think I've really ever kind of liked him, like, from the other things.
Really?
He grew on me. He really had to grow on me, but I really liked him in this one just because I saw him actually come full circle and actually, like, and when he actually learned how to use Yondu Zero. I was like, because before it was just kind of like a comic relief. It's like, he's like whistling and he's gonna like stick somebody in the ass. Like, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this again.
Yeah.
Up in the air.
Right.
It's like, but when he actually like was like focused and did it, it's like, because he was actually, I mean, he drove nowhere. He drove the head and shot the ship with the head. We got to talk about Nowhere being a fucking Death Star.
We'll talk about that in a minute. I need to know, how high did you jump out of your seat when Howard showed up on screen?
Just about as high as when Nathan Fillion got on that damn screen. Both of them. I was like, yeah.
When I saw Howard playing cards, I was like, Mike is about to lose his shit.
And you know what my theory is? Look, Anthony.
What? Wait, what?
Because he showed up in something else, and I'm like, well, maybe Howard the Duck will be.
He was in Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Maybe he'll be the new Stan Lee, where he just appears in the movies.
Believe me, Mike will have no problem with that. No problem with that. Because he was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I completely forgot about that until I rewatched it. He showed up in What If?
What If, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, okay.
When
I saw him,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, he was in 2 episodes of What If. He was in the Thor one, and he was in the T'Challa Star-Lord one. He was in both of those.
Yeah.
Someone said you can find him in the last battle scene in Endgame.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can see him like running. Like there's actual footage.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to Google it.
Damn right.
Let me tell you, I was sitting in the movie theater. And I saw that, and our friend Carlos was sitting next to me in the movie theater. We both were like, "Oh, Mike is about to be happy." Because I think anybody who listens to our show knows about Mike's obsession with Howard the Duck. And when I saw it, that's why I was like,
"Oh God, oh my God!" Now I got to listen to Mike.
Yep, exactly. Yep, you gotta listen. Yeah, you're gonna listen to all this.
That's why I texted in the group chat. I was like, Mike, when are you going to see Guardians? He was like, I'm going to see it this weekend, probably Saturday. I was like, okay. He was like, why? I'm worried now. And I was like, no, because if I were to say you're gonna lose your shit, he would have automatically known what it was.
I was just like, okay. I kind of figured that's what it was, but then it's like when I saw Nathan. Besides the fact that Nathan Fillion is going to be at Dragon Con, and I am literally going to give him all of my money. Right. I'm getting pictures, recorded messages. He's signing everything I have. Like I'm bringing my Mal Pop for him to sign. Like I'm bringing everything. Yeah. Like for real. Like outside of the nerd stuff that he's famous for, one of my favorite TV shows, Castle, is his show, and I'm just like losing my shit. And there he is in fucking Guardians of the Galaxy being a douchebag. And I'm like, I don't care. He's a great douchebag in this movie. I was so happy. And I want that puffy. I'm thinking about finding a puffy ass yellow jacket and doing a cosplay as him and when I can go up there. But yes, I was very happy. That's why I was like, not only is my favorite movie star in there, but Nathan Fillion's in there too. Like, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah. It was a funny, like, and I saw an interview where he said this is not the first time he's been in the MCU. Like, no,
he was a prisoner in the first one.
Mm-hmm. So the fact that you like saw his face and he is like there and fully fleshed out, and like you said, being a total douchebag. I just sat in my movie. I just sat in my seat and I was just smiling and laughing so much because I was like, this is cool. Because okay, you're talking about Castle. I remember when he showed up on One Life to Live as young Joey Buchanan. That's how far back I remember him.
Yeah, that's far. That's
old.
He was, you know, where whatever, we the same age.
Soap operas don't even come on no more.
Yes, they do.
And technically, we are not the same age, at least for another.
Shut up. Didn't nobody ask you.
Older than me.
Didn't nobody ask you. I know you got another 13 days. That didn't nobody ask you. Whatever. But yeah, him showing up, that was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think what else was there. The fight scenes, especially that fight scene when let me tell you, when they were all fighting. Okay, I gotta give it to Chris Pratt. So I'm not like the hugest Chris Pratt fan. I mean, I know a lot of people who don't like him for various reasons. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's a good actor. But when I tell you the way he was moving in this fight scene, this the big one where they were fighting all the people and like they're like jumping on the wall. I was looking at that fight scene like, this is one of the best fucking fight scenes. I love it. It was so good. And then you see everybody, okay, just the choreography, the way that they all move together. And again, you know, I talked about seeing how this group has kind of come together and how they really kind of feel like a family now. And you can even see it in the way that they move with each other. anytime Groot starts fighting, I love it because Groot is like, I'm about to kill your ass, especially if you touch this person, if you touch this person. Mm-hmm. When he was in the High Evolutionary's chambers and he pulled out all the guns with all his him and Quill were fighting, I was like,
he came out there and pulled the General Grievous, like just like all of a sudden, like
guns from everywhere.
They were moving together so well, and I was just like, "This is beautiful. This is so beautiful." And then to see it with the rest of that, I was just like, "Okay, y'all, I'm here for this." Like, I would go back just to watch the fight scenes. They were amazing.
I mean, and like shout out to Nebula literally getting her head knocked off and still killing people. Then like snapping it back and snapping her arm back and continue fighting. I was like, shit.
Okay, Nebula was like Rocket gave her some upgrades.
yeah, he did. Like, holy shit, he gave her some upgrades.
Man,
I mean, can we talk about the fact that she looked like a female version of an X-wing fighter when she approached Adam Warlock in the first part of the movie when he grabbed Rocket. And she came up and she had like the wing, like almost the wings to look like a dragonfly.
She was like, hold on, you're gonna put him down. I'm about to make you put him down. But yeah,
like her hand became a can, and I was like, when did that happen? Like, what software update is that? Like, damn.
Let me tell you, Nebula, like for as much as she complains about what Thanos did to her and what he did to her was horrible. Talk about a bitch making the best of a bad situation.
Hello.
Because ain't finna fuck with Nebula. When Adam took Rocket, she was looking at him like, oh no, what we not gonna do? What we not gonna do? I'm gonna need that back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, man. This movie was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, even though, yes, it did have a darker undertone. It did with a lot of heaviness, but the humor that was in it, I feel like kept it from being like, oh my God, I'm so fucking depressed after watching this movie, because there was some humor there that I felt like was well placed. Again, the Adam Warlock stuff was a little bit weird at first, but even at the end when he sees everybody else hugging, he's like, oh, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do too. I was like, okay, this is him kind of
so awkward. I'm like,
it was awkward, but it was a good awkward because this is somebody who's never experienced any of that before. So it's kind of what you would expect from him, and I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was
See, for me, like my favorite scene, or that kind of moved me was, over the years in all the movies, we always hear, people call him a raccoon, and he's like, I'm not a raccoon, so I'm calling him. And I think I was watching one movie where Peter said, okay, trash panda. He was like, is that better? He's like, yeah, it's better.
It was this. I think it was the last one, and then I think he said it in this one too, or something like. No,
they called it trash panda, and then he sees at the end when he sees all the little raccoons, and he looks and it says raccoons. And then he realized I am a raccoon. He goes, a rocket. That to me was
he saved the babies.
Yeah.
He saves baby, but that was one of the best. To me, that was one of the best moments in this movie.
He said the name's Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to whoop the High Evolutionary's ass again.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Talk about dark. The part where after Gamora stabbed him and put her face like real close to his, and he had a flap hanging off, and like, oh, what's this? Yeah. And just let him fall. I was like, oh. You taking a trophy? Come on, man. Can't be.
I think that was like, we're about to expose who you really are. Like, take this little mask off, this whole, perfect looking, whatever. Like, something is not right about you up underneath. And that was literally true.
Mask off.
Face off. Right.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. But
and what did you guys think about do you understand, or did y'all understand, or was it just me, that at the end when I Am Groot said, "I really love you guys." Did you understand that was us
I was
him?
teary. I was like, "Come on, man!"
I didn't
really?
at first. I was like confused. I was like, "What the fuck?"
As soon as you said,
I saw it. I saw the interview where he said that was supposed to be. It's like we became part of the family now, so we understand Groot the way that the Guardians understand Groot.
Yes,
because even towards the end, Gamora,
I was like,
yeah, Gamora started understanding him. He was like,
yeah. So
okay.
I thought it was very
that was probably
sweet.
my favorite part of the whole movie.
I thought that was very sweet, and I cried at that too. I was like, "God damn it, James Gunn, ask for all this."
You know, a part I cried that I almost cried at that I was not expecting to was the part where Kraglin called Cosmo a bad dog, and she was like, "I'm not a bad dog. I'm a good dog."
Take it back.
And she finally saved him, and she was like, "You're a good dog." And I was like,
So okay, let me ask y'all this, because I don't remember when Cosmo the dog was introduced into the story.
And he was in the first one. She was in the first one. And
she was in one of the little glass.
Yeah, he was in
with the collector.
With the collector.
She was one of these collector.
Okay, that's where because I kept looking at this. I'm like, where the fuck did this talking dog come from? And like I said, I haven't had a chance to go back and look, and I was just sitting here like, where the hell did she come from? I couldn't remember, but yes, you're right.
At the end of the first one, in the post-credit scene, her and Howard showed up after the collector was going through the rubble.
Yes, you're right. Okay, because I was so confused. I was like, where the hell did this dog come from, and why is she just all in the movie?
They just picked a random dog like, "Hey, come along."
I was trying to figure out.
Did you watch the Christmas special?
No.
I did, but even with the Christmas special, I was trying to figure out, like, where the hell did this dog come from? Yeah. So yeah, I've been trying to figure out where she. You didn't watch the Christmas special?
No.
The Christmas special was so good.
Take it back. I'm the good dog. Take it back. I'm not a bad dog. Yeah.
You need to watch the Christmas special. It was so good. And then, of course, they made that reference in the end credit scene when Grandpa was reading the paper. The headline was Kevin Bacon talks about his alien. Okay, but let's talk about
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game now.
That's right.
It's amazing.
You basically can't miss. You cannot miss now because he's in the whole MCU.
He's even crossed the multiverse. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So, but okay, so let's talk about the characters and where they end up and stuff, because like we said, some of the characters, some of the Guardians, we supposedly will not see again. We do know that we will see Peter Quill again because we had the title card at the end that says Star-Lord. What was it? The legendary Star-Lord will return. So
which is the name of his book, comic book.
Okay.
There's Guardians of the Galaxy, and then there's the legendary Star-Lord.
Okay. I did read about that. So Peter, at the end of this thing, he decides that he needs to go home, because that's one of the things that that's brought up several times in the film about the fact that, okay, so you got kidnapped from Earth after your mom died and you never went back, and it was this whole thing about, he needs closure. That's the reason. And that was one of the things Gamora kept saying, you don't know how to let things go. You kind of like your mom died. You left, like you never in 30 something went back to check on your family. And he was like, well, my grandfather, the last thing he said to me before I disappeared, he yelled at me and kicked me out the hospital. And what was it? I don't remember who was it that said, Mantis. She was like, well, he just lost his daughter. You don't think he was trying to process that too? But at the end, he goes back home. He goes back to his grandfather's old house. His grandfather is there, embraces him, cries because his grandson is back. And then you see in one of the post-credit scenes, Peter and his grandfather are sitting there eating cereal, and Peter's just talking about the fact that his uncle is, making him cut the grass. He was like, a grown ass man, and in his 70s, and he doesn't do anything, and he's just sitting back watching me cut the grass. I'm like, well, dude, you've been gone for a long time. You should have been cutting them grasses.
You got a whole lot of grass cut to make up.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
you got a lot on credit. You got grass cutting on credit. Get your ass out there.
Okay.
Right. Mantis also decides that she is going to leave because, as she said, she existed for so long doing what Ego wanted and then doing what everybody else wanted as part of the Guardians. And she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know who she is or what she wants to be. So she leaves to go find that. And I thought it was really cute that Drax was sad that she was leaving, because for all the hard times he gave her, that really is like his best friend. So that was cute. But Groot and Rocket, actually, they stay with the Guardians. Rocket is now the captain of the Guardians. Drax and Nebula stay on the planet Nowhere so that they can kind of help build the city back up. And also, somebody's got to take care of all these damn kids that the High Evolutionary had on his ship, because it had to have been almost 100, if not more.
Yeah.
Lots of children.
Kids.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids have powers, which you need to get to too.
Right.
So you got to have somebody who could actually calm them down when they have temper tantrums, like Love did at the end of Love and Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just have anybody there who's
and
kids can blow you up.
Nebula didn't give me motherly though at all.
She ain't gotta be. She just gotta give them that glare and tell them to sit their ass down.
Yeah, Nebula is the no nonsense. Nebula is the black mama. Look, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing, don't say nothing. That's Nebula.
Exactly.
And Drax is the pushover father.
Nebula doesn't move her mouth when she talks anyway, so she already got that black mom thing. Like, sit your ass down. Don't tell you nothing.
Yeah. And Drax is the pushover daddy. He's the one that they're gonna look at him with like the little puppy dog eyes, and he's gonna give them whatever it is they want. Yeah. So I think it's a good balance though for them to be able to do the things that they're going to need to do. And then, with Kraglin being part of the Guardians now and Cosmo being part of the Guardians. Okay, but can we talk about swole ass Groot at the end of the movie? Because I did not realize that big rocky structure, what looked like a rocky structure, was actually Groot taking a nap. When he said, Groot, come on, and Groot got up, I was like,
Groot is a floral colossus from his home planet.
No,
God.
Ed, is that Alpha Groot or King Groot?
I think that's King Groot, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because of how his head looked like a crown kind. I was like, oh shit, King Groot's a beast. You think Groot was bad? King Groot's not to be fucked with.
Okay,
it's a bad motherfucker.
Okay, cool.
But Phyla, we need to talk. We need to talk about Phyla.
Phyla Vale.
Okay, so yes, let's talk about Phyla, because I have absolutely no knowledge of who this character is, what she's supposed to be, nothing. Right. I didn't even realize she had a name until I looked it up at the end.
She's like, this has like really weird implications in everything that's going on. Basically, Phyla Vale was actually introduced in a Captain Marvel comic. She's been known as Quasar. Mm-hmm. She basically has most of the same powers as Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this could she could very well make an appearance in the Marvels.
I read that somewhere.
It could happen because that would tie them together.
Did I read somewhere that she has also carried the moniker of Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel. Yes, she has been Captain Marvel. Quasar. And she's been Quasar.
Yeah. Monica Rambeau has also been Quasar and Captain Marvel as well.
Monica Rambeau's been like 5 different names. They could never figure out a name for her. She's like Photon, Quasar, Captain Marvel, like Ebony Marvel. I don't know. It's like, oh wait, that's some magazine. Never mind. I'm sorry. I digress. But
so
okay.
you think this Phyla is gonna show up in the Marvels?
I think
there's
it's
a
possible.
chance. I'm not saying for sure. I won't say for sure, but the fact that she was actually, I'm sorry, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the fact that her first appearance was in a Captain Marvel comic book kind of belays the fact that eventually they're going to be together, whether it's with Monica Rambeau or whether it's with Carol Danvers, or even if it's with Kamala. It's like one of the three, like she's going to have an interaction with them because she's going to be a Captain Marvel somewhere down the line, and she has the power set already. So there is a link there. So it's absolutely possible that she could be in Captain Marvel in the Marvels coming up. But I think she's definitely going to have a role in whatever's coming up with Secret Wars or whatever's coming up with Secret Wars. I think she's definitely going to be in that. I think if they develop her right, she'll probably be in Young Avengers whenever they decide to quit playing with our emotions and reveal that they're actually putting that together. Because by the time they put it together, everybody's going to be 35 and they're not going to be Young Avengers anymore. They're going to be old ass Avengers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she could fit into Young Avengers. There's a lot of places that her character could fit into. So, and plus they already have her with Adam Warlock. It's like they're two really powerful beings. So there's a lot they could do with all that.
And are they gonna do? Did they say they're gonna do Nova Corps?
Yes, Nova is one of the things they have in development too.
Yeah, so they're doing Nova Corps. She has been with both Nova and Star-Lord. So
okay.
They're gonna tie all the cosmic stuff together.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be nice because they all have strings that connect themselves, and they've been showing them separately. So it's like if they could just put you right here, put you right here, put you right here, tie all that shit up, and give us a decent movie, it'd be like, okay, cool.
I'm telling you, all of this is leading up to Secret Wars. It's gonna be a big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Okay. All right.
But the way they're building it up, I'm like, I mean,
I'm more excited about Secret Wars than I am the Kang Dynasty.
Well, the Kang Dynasty too is also so far off, and it's so right now it's so really up in the air with everything that's going on, off camera with Jonathan Majors. But
with everything going on off camera with the writer's strike, is going to push everything back again. This is basically a writer's version of COVID. It's like it's going to push everything back and kind of screw up all the fucking timelines.
Yeah, unless these companies decide to pay these writers what they're fucking worth.
I think I'm going ahead and do that. Back until, but it's already they've already pushed back Blade again. They've pushed back a lot of other movies. That they do Marvel. They've already pushed them back. Like they've already stopped production on a whole lot of things.
Because Mahershala Ali was having issues with the writer they had.
So, yeah,
he finally got the right writer, and now the writers are on strike. So it's like,
well, like I said, I need these companies to pay these writers what they're worth. I need to give them the credit that they're due, because we've been hearing about this for years now, and it's so funny because there's this one meme that keeps going out on. There's this one meme that keeps going around, and it's about it's like a quote unquote cautionary tale about writer strikes and what can happen, and it's always Heroes season 2. Yes. People are like, this is what happens when you take a good show and you have a writer strike because you don't want to pay the writers what they're fucking worth. You get Heroes season 2. And I'm just like, y'all, pay these writers, because these shows would not exist without your writers. Like, come on, why is this a hard thing to do?
It ain't like they don't have the money and they can't pay them.
Right. It's about greed. They're being greedy. That's all it is. It's like that one. But it's like karma will get their ass. It's fun.
I just hope they don't get their ass at the expense of good writing for these shows, because we have lots of shows that we discuss that are kind of now in limbo.
Yeah.
And if that's what y'all got to do to get paid, then fine. There's plenty of stuff out there for us to talk about. But it's kind of like you have these people who are doing phenomenal things with writing on some of these shows. And then if you don't pay them what they're worth, or what they do. I won't even say just what they're worth, what they deserve. You know what I'm saying? If you're not even giving them the bare minimum, if you're not giving them whatever, look, don't screw this up for us, companies, corporations. Don't screw this up. Pay the fucking writers what they deserve. Pay them what they're worth. Give them their money so we can have other things to talk about.
That's well. We lucky that some of the stuff we do watch is wrapped already. So.
Right. There are some things that wrap, but it's like there's a lot of things that you're seeing they're not in production anymore. They've pulled back, or even shows that might have been like in post production. They're like, we're gonna stop because we're gonna support the writers, and we do too. So, but it's just
frustrating.
It is. And it's not just with the writers. I mean, you see this happening in different industries all over. Just pay people what they're
people want to be paid what they worth.
Yeah, just pay what they're fucking worth, because your company can't run without these people. So I mean, yeah. Anyway,
I don't still see how Walmart makes as much as they do, but you want to pay your employees minimum wage.
Girl, that's a whole other conversation. We're not even about to start that, because some of us got to go to work tomorrow. We'll be here for hours talking about that bullshit. But anyway, anything else we need to discuss with Guardians of the Galaxy? I think overall we all love the movie, or like the movie, and think that James, it was a great swan song for James Gunn. He did an absolute phenomenal job, and I love the fact that even though yes, he is part of DC now, he still came and supported this movie 100%, promoted this movie 100%, was still posting like even now is still posting on social media about how much this film and how much these characters mean to him. And you can only hope that people, when they leave a project, that they still have that much passion for it, because a lot of times they don't. It's like once they leave, they're like, oh, that's not part of me anymore. And the fact that he put so much of himself into it and gave us such a great product, I'm appreciative of it. Now I need you to do the same thing for DC, so I can stop looking at Lori sideways when she wants to do something DC related.
Wait, you want to do what?
Like, do we have to?
But you know what? The preview for that Blue Beetle, that looks actually pretty good.
That looks fucking amazing.
I saw the preview. I was like, oh, okay.
You talking about Flash?
No, the Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
Oh. Yeah, it looks. Why did you look like that, Anthony? You were like, whatever.
Blue Beetle's gonna be dope. Blue Beetle. I mean,
it's gonna be all right.
And Anthony is he's remaining cautiously skeptical, which I understand.
It's a DC movie.
I understand.
I get that too.
I understand. So
they're gonna find a way to win it.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to this cast. Like, holy shit. All these people that are in it, like behind the scenes, like we could talk about Tara Strong voicing Mainframe. She took the place of what's her name? Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus voiced Mainframe before, but Tara Strong.
Not know that.
Over. I don't know how to. I think I knew it, but it just kind of slipped past my mind. But yeah, Sylvester Stallone coming back as freaking Stakar.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn voicing that little deformed little lamb thing. The one when they were freeing everybody. Mantis was like, "Oh, you're not ugly. I didn't say you're." He's like,
yes.
To the side. Yes. That was James Gunn voiced him.
Michael
It's
Rosenbaum.
funny how he put out. Huh?
Michael Rosenbaum was back.
Michael Rosenbaum was back as one of the Ravagers too. Yeah. Also, from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad movie, the girl that played Ratcatcher 2 was the girl that was one of the girl that was punching up the thing for Peter Quill and finding Rocket's finding Rocket's history.
Oh yeah,
that was the girl played Ratcatcher 2.
Okay.
The woman, James Gunn's wife was in it too. She's the one that got shot. Like everybody's laughing her ass out. She's like, ah! Like,
and the one got shot in the leg.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was his wife. She's also been Suicide Squad and Peacemaker series. So
okay.
Along
Sean
with
Gunn was the one who voiced young Rocket.
Who was?
Sean Gunn, Kraglin.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what else was I gonna say? Shout out to Peter Quill saying fuck in the car. Like when what's name was going to get in, like
Right.
really?
Right. Yes,
he's like,
I think I read that today. He is the person who dropped the first F-bomb in the MCU.
Right.
I can just hear Steve now.
I felt his language. I felt his frustration.
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Exactly.
Or grandpa?
Right, I was gonna say no, because his mother's dead.
His was dead. Sounds like Nebula.
right.
No, because his mother's dead.
Yeah.
How insensitive, Steve.
Right.
And shout out to them looking when they were in their spacesuits looking like they were playing a really big game of Among Us.
That's because I kept looking. I was like, that looks like characters from some video game that was really, really popular a couple of years ago. You used to see the characters all over the place.
I'm sure that was intentional.
Yeah, that probably so.
Intentional.
And poor Mantis could not get it straight. It's crazy.
Oh my god.
Poor Mantis. Let's just say hilarious. Poor Mantis. Just poor Mantis. I hope she finds what she's looking for with her big alien. Okay, I was going to say the little aliens. The big aliens that she ended up having control of, was that the same thing that was at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2? Okay, That's what I thought. I was like, wait, that looks familiar. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they did do a lot of little
callbacks.
Yeah. Okay. It was just one of those things. When I saw it, I was like, wow, I forgot how much happened in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And then I was like, wow, Ego is really a dick. Like, I was watching it the other day. I was like, oh my goodness, he really was a dick. Anyway, what's next on the Marvel slate? Is it Secret Invasion?
The show? I think so.
Okay. So of course we will be covering that.
I'm glad I got my popcorn bucket.
See, and I saw the popcorn bucket, but the way that I saw it, it was sitting on the bar because I went to AMC that has the McGuffin's bar in it, and I only saw the box part, so I didn't see the part that actually had Rocket. And I was like, I really want that, but I have nowhere to, I don't know where I will put it right now. Because I still have popcorn buckets from Doctor Strange and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I don't there you go. And so I don't know where I would put it, but it's cute. I may reconsider going to buy it because it does look cute. I don't know how you're going to get that home, Casey. So
I thought about it after I purchased it.
Just go to the UPS store and mail that shit back to yourself.
I told her, look, you can take a carry-on bag on the plane. You can take a personal bag. Just get a tote bag, take the tote bag, and you can sit it up under the chair in front of you while you're on the plane. Easy peasy.
Or just buy the ticket and sit it next to you. Put the seatbelt on and everything.
This is Rocket Raccoon seat going back to Atlanta with me.
Exactly. This is my, just call it, that's your service popcorn bucket. It's like you need it for comfort on the flight.
Hello.
Yeah, after all that emotional damage we got.
Oh my God. How about, okay, real quick. How about I still haven't gotten over the fact that Peter Quill was dead in space. Like, he was dead.
He clearly couldn't have been dead all the way if they brought him down.
Yeah, I don't think he was dead.
But it's like, I was looking, I was like,
had this much left in him.
When he was almost there and the debris hit him and he stopped, and I was like, nuh-uh. I was like,
I said the same thing.
You've got to be kidding me.
To kill him?
Like, really? Like, right now?
I thought it too. I really thought it too. Like, that was going to be the end of Peter's story.
And then Groot like throwing his branches out, and the branches freezing and breaking. I was like, oh,
that is the part that really damaged me emotionally. I was like, no, because Groot, no, you can't do my baby like that. Like, he reached out and I was like, he's gonna do it. And then when he started freezing, I was like, how dare they?
When his face went poo poo, I was like,
yeah, his face started blowing. I was like,
how dare they? Because he didn't even look that bad the first time he got stuck in space.
Maybe that's what happened after the second time.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think the first time he was still connected to Ego.
Oh, yeah. And I guess he still had kind of some of his powers too, because
so now I don't think. Well, I don't know, because when Ego died, I don't remember who said it, but someone said, "Well, you're fully human." I don't think it works like that. He may not have the power, but his DNA is still not completely human.
Right.
That's probably why he survived again, just in worse shape. Because the last time he didn't puff up like that.
Yeah, I would imagine after that, and you wake up and you look and see yourself in the mirror, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going back to Earth. Fuck this.
Right.
And what he said,
I have had enough.
Did that look cool?
Hey, go somewhere where I ain't gonna get puffed up. A shout out to the soundtrack too. Damn it! Starting off this movie with Creep.
You know, Guardians of the Galaxy always has amazing soundtracks.
Top fucking notch.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you sitting in there and you like dancing, I'm like, I am not supposed to be dancing in this movie, but you can't help but dance because the soundtrack is amazing. So yes.
He knows how to pick his songs. He was playing fucking Crazy for You when Adam Warlock was beating their ass. I was like, how does that go so well? And then it's like
and then he played the Machine at the end. I was like,
he played the Flaming Lips when Peter was over there sulking, looking out the window. I was like, oh.
Great soundtrack.
I'm glad Drax went up and snapped him up. Yeah, but again, James Gunn knows how to pick music for his movies. Like, he did a really hell of a job on that shit.
Yeah, he did.
I still don't care what you say. This is a lot of this, for all his faults. This is still a top 11 movie for me. I still think this is a top 11 for me.
Okay. All right. Well, we will end on that positive note with our review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Before we end, I do want to give a shout out. I put a post on social media a couple of weeks ago about, asking people to help, support the podcast by giving donations. We did get a donation from Angela Furr. Thank you so much for your donation towards the podcast. We really appreciate you listening and supporting us. So on that positive note, that's it for our show. You can find us online. Really.
Thank you, Angela. Awesome.
That's how we clapped out for donations.
Really?
Exactly.
Oh, okay, we can do it like that. That's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.